There's a term scientists use to describe the final moments right before a tsunami comes ashore. They call it the drawback. Before a tsunami wave strikes, the ocean sucks back out. The shoreline recedes dramatically, exposing areas that are usually underwater. The drawback can run hundreds, even thousands of feet. People often stay near the shore to collect seashells or to look at stranded fish on the exposed seabed, oblivious to the danger ahead. You literally have minutes to escape before the first wave hits. Before it consumes the shoreline and drags everything in its path out to sea. A unique characteristic of a tsunami is the drawback. A tsunami tells you it's coming. You get a window, though narrow, to escape unharmed. Unfortunately, most people don't know the warning sign. This concept, the drawback, is an apt analogy for the state of the American economy today. I think a lot of people have felt for a very long time that something isn't right. Everywhere you look, there are heightened feelings of despair, frustration, and confusion, especially when it comes to money. Look at all the anger, resentment, and violence happening in our communities. How many strikes are going on right now over the basic living needs and pay? Ordinary, everyday Americans are flat out of money. Wealthy Americans are running out of money, and it's about to get a whole lot worse. Millions of people are standing in the shadow of the biggest financial tidal wave this nation has ever seen. They have no idea it's coming. It's barely towards our shores at 1,000 miles per hour.
20 feet tall. Easy.
When it makes landfall, its impact will be more violent and more severe than any financial crisis we've ever seen.
The big wave. Holy shit.
It will make an already very bad situation even worse. It will lead to the destruction of hundreds of thousands of businesses. Most people won't know what to do when their savings run out, or when the stocks in their portfolios fall by half. It's going to affect everything about our normal way of life, our money, the value of our homes, our ability to retire. We've never seen anything like this coming our way before. I haven't, you haven't, nobody has.
Market's lost half its value right now. There's trouble.
It's going to destroy what's left of the middle class. I spent over 40 years on Wall Street. I've managed billions of dollars for some of the wealthiest people in this country. Even wealthy Americans will be surprised at how quickly things unravel.
We're also seeing economic conditions shift.
In fact, it's the rich who are at the greatest risk of suffering the biggest decline in their wealth and quality of life. The thing about a tsunami is there's nothing you can do to stop it. It can't be reversed, no matter how hard you try. I'm afraid for my family's future. That's why I'm taking drastic steps to help people prepare for what I know will inevitably happen next. Some people will benefit from this change, celebrate it even. It will make a small group of very wealthy individuals even wealthier. Most won't be so lucky. It brings me no joy to say these things. My goal is not to scare you, but to prepare you, your family, and your loved ones for what's coming. We are standing in the shadow of the biggest financial and economic calamity in history. Most people are on the beach collecting seashells. I'm one of the few people in America who actually knows what's coming and how to prepare for it. I know because I'm one of the ones who helped create it.
Tell us a little bit. Who are you?
I grew up in Berkeley, California. Dad laid bricks for a living, Mom was a secretary. As a child, reading and writing didn't come easy, but numbers were different. As far back as I can remember, numbers were how I saw the world. I can see them vividly in my daily life. While most kids saw math as a chore and restrictive, I saw it as dependable, reliable. Money was far from given in our household. Math equaled certainty. One day, one of my teachers approached my mother and asked if I've ever been tested because my aptitude was off the charts. I taught myself how to code at a very young age. This is back when computers took up entire rooms and required punch cards. I spent a lot of time in my youth in a college computer lab. I learned the same programming language used in advanced weather forecasting, the Voyager space missions, Pentagon war game simulations, early AI modeling. There must have been something in the water back then. Across the bay, Jobs and Wozniak were tinkering in their garage with the first Apple. Ellison was starting up what would become software giant Oracle. I was the nerdy computer kid obsessed with stocks. I was following the markets before I went to high school. I thought Wall Street had it all wrong. Most of those guys relied on their gut. Instinct, they called it. When I looked at the stock market, I saw numbers. I saw an ocean of data I could interpret, make sense of. I knew I could do better using math and computers. The truth and the future is in the numbers, if you know where and how to look. When I was a kid, I wrote a stock picking program that beat the market and analysts on Wall Street, twice my age, by 3-1. When I presented my findings to Wall Street, they couldn't refute it, but they weren't ready to take me seriously either. Maybe it was my age. So I did what any brash young Silicon Valley kid at the time would do. I started my own business. I'm the founder of one of Wall Street's first purely data-driven investment firms. We're doing things back then no one had even thought of. We were using big data and predictive analytics before guys like Mark Zuckerberg were even born. It didn't take long for the returns we were generating to start turning some heads. Every dollar invested in 1980 would go on to be worth more than 10 by the end of the decade. We beat the S&P by more than 5-fold, the Dow more than 11-fold. Our data modeling predicted the rise of Apple, Adobe, Microsoft, Home Depot, and Nike long before they showed up on the radar of analysts using conventional analysis. We found the top 3 performing stocks of the 90s, numbers 1, 2, and 3, before the decade even began. You can't do that on instinct. Remember, the truth is always in the numbers. You just have to know where to look. We established one of the longest and most successful winning streaks in Wall Street history. Not many people can say they outperform guys like Warren Buffett over the long term. Our models pinpointed what would later be called the century's best performing stock, whose share price rocketed by 74,000% over the next several years. Google, Nvidia, Walmart, Oracle. There probably isn't a household name our systems didn't uncover in the very early stages. Most analysts are lucky to find one stock that goes up 10-fold in their career. We found 18 stocks that have gone on to soar more than 100-fold. Today, of course, there's hardly a firm on Wall Street who isn't using big data, AI, high-speed computers. But we were there first. We built the foundation. We went from $300,000 under management in the early 1980s to $6 billion by the turn of the century. If you're good at math, you might have already tabulated that's 1.9 million % growth. The backbone of everything we do is based on algorithms I programmed over 40 years ago. But the algorithms themselves, the computing power we have now, this might shock you, but they have literally increased 1 trillion times since then. The idea that computing power would one day surpass human intelligence, that computers would be smarter than humans, a few people believe that. I think most people underestimated the speed at which it would happen. A lot of very smart people thought we were still 50 years away from the stuff we're seeing now. AI just passed the investment associate test at the world's largest hedge fund. that achieved a level of performance on par with first-year associates. This is a job that pays a minimum six-figure salary. You need a 4-year degree and 2 years experience just to get your foot in the door. AI sailed through Google's Level 3 coding exam. This is the test they give to prospective software developers. This is a job that pays $183,000 per year. A few years ago, software developer was the most desirable job in America. Now, a computer program can do it. And AI just became the first non-human advisor ever regulated by the SEC. This has been my livelihood for the past 43 years. They are practically begging people to stay out of the legal profession. AI just negotiated a contract for the first time ever, and no human was involved. The recent writer's strike in Hollywood was probably the largest strike explicitly directed at the threat of artificial intelligence to human workers. These are writers. This is creative work. 24 months ago, it was inconceivable that a computer could compete with the human mind when it came to writing screenplays.
They're doing that because they know that our fight is their fight.
AI was a big part of the recent auto workers strike, too.
Union leaders rallying support as the two sides publicly appear no closer to a deal.
On the surface, these strikes were about higher pay. The subtext is much more ominous. It's about preserving the very existence of these jobs.
Companies are trying to drive a race to the bottom, and we're better than that. America's better than that.
Look at what's happening at UPS. 5 months after announcing a historic labor deal for workers, it cut 12,000 jobs. At the same time, UPS began boosting investments in automated warehouses and driverless delivery trucks. Same with Amazon. This is the second largest employer in the U.S., 1.5 million people. It's one of the largest investors in AI.
From robots to artificial intelligence, Amazon says it's revolutionizing the way consumers get their orders.
It's building out fully autonomous warehouses. It's working to automate the delivery process with self-driving vans and delivery drones. If you don't believe they are phasing out workers at every stage of their business, then you don't understand the magnitude of what is headed our way. 30% of its workforce are already robots. Robots don't sleep. They don't take vacations. They never need a break. How much longer until Amazon decides these robots are ready to take the full workload of its 1.5 million remaining workers? What do you think will happen when 1.5 million hardworking Americans are settling out of a job? And it's not just one or two companies, it's systemic. Walmart is the largest employer in the U.S. It's rolling out fully automated distribution centers using a combination of AI and robotics. Their new distribution centers are in operation, but come with one big catch. There aren't any people. One of the most difficult things in business has been finding good critical thinkers. A person who makes optimal decisions, who's good at problem solving, who can strategize, and always acts in the best interest of the business. This is the knowledge worker. Accountants, business strategies, even lawyers and doctors. The only thing more difficult than finding one good knowledge worker is finding multiple. For most of the modern era, knowledge work was difficult to scale. Those professions typically require years of education, on-the-job training, and experience. Lots of time and money. Lots of big salaries. ChatGPT is killing that paradigm. It makes it so that you can scale critical thinking and knowledge work. The sad part is, many people with good white-collar jobs don't think AI poses any threat to them. They're not taking any steps to protect themselves and their families. Twitter has laid off more than 6,000 people, or 80% of its workforce since the advent of ChatGPT. Amazon, Meta, Google, and Microsoft have laid off more. Every one of these companies is still going strong despite losing large amounts of their workforce.
When the first round of layoffs happened back in November, the 13% cuts of the workforce, employees got the sense that this wasn't the end. Wall Street loved it.
It makes you wonder how many people these big tech companies need. The answer is a whole lot less now that AI is here.
Because the video was generated by AI. It's from a new tool just announced a few hours ago by OpenAI called Sora.
This is permanently changing our economy, the way free markets work.
21% of U.S. film, TV, and animation jobs predicted to be partially or wholly replaced by generative AI by just 2026, Tom.
In 1986, the average company needed 8 employees to generate $1 million in revenue. Today, you only need 2. The S&P is 70% less labor intensive, yet it's 20 times more valuable. 40 years ago, it took tens of thousands of people to build a $20 billion business. Now it can be done with less than 1,000. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, achieved a market value of $20 billion in 2022. It had less than 500 employees. American Express had 72,000 employees and was a $14 billion company in 1994. But Venmo recently achieved a $20 billion valuation with just 600 employees. In 1964, AT&T was the most valuable company in America. It had more than 750,000 employees. Today, Google is a bigger and a far richer company with 75% fewer employees. Today's companies don't need as many people compared to a decade or two ago.
But it wasn't my fault. The company just up and started firing people. Retrenching, they called it. What do you think of that?
The number of great jobs is decreasing, while those who own and invest in these businesses are getting rich at the fastest rates in history. Decades ago, we were a country with relative wealth equality. Now the lion's shares of America's wealth is being vacuumed up by a tiny group of people, the digital elites. Never before have such small groups of people built such incredible wealth in such short time frames. On one hand, America is a place of extraordinary wealth, a place where billionaires travel in private jets and buy $10 million condos with a week's pay. The system is working great for these people.
According to new federal data, a record number of people are now unhoused. More than 600.
On the other hand, much of America is a land of extreme poverty and miserable people.
Take a drive down Los Angeles' Skid Row, filled with tents, people, and growing frustration.
To these folks, the system is a disaster.
Growing national problem that could take decades to fix.
Technological progress is a double-edged sword.
It's capable of stocking merchandise 75% more quickly and delivering your orders 25% faster.
It makes our lives easier.
Jeff loves it.
It's fun.
The internet has given us access to more information than ever before. I can book a 2-week vacation anywhere in the world, and I don't need a travel agent to do it. I could buy a home without a real estate agent. I could buy a car on my smartphone if I wanted to, without ever speaking to a salesman. And therein lies the rub. There's a hidden cost to all this convenience that most people still haven't fully grasped. Technology enables businesses to do more with less. This is killing family businesses, driving down wages. It's destroying careers and distorting the financial markets. Why would Google pay software coders when AI can do it faster, cheaper, and with fewer mistakes? Why would Amazon pay warehouse workers when AI-powered robots can perform the same task for far cheaper than people?
Co-counsel is the first artificial intelligence legal assistant.
Why would lawyers get paid more when AI can review and evaluate contracts faster and with better accuracy? It's tearing our country in two.
The practical concerns of we are creating intelligent systems that are part of our everyday life, and very few people are getting to make the decisions about how they work.
America is the land of the haves and the have-nots. The gap between the rich and the poor is already very large.
The growing gap between rich and poor Americans is one of the biggest challenges facing the country. Get this, the richest 1% controls more wealth now than at any time in more than a half century.
The wealthiest people in this country will start paying their fair share of taxes.
Most people don't know it's about to get much worse.
There are more than 100 people, all with a message to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Now we turn to a noted growth investor who's been picking stocks for more than 20 years. He's here to tell
Louis
us.
Navellier, great to have you with us on Bloomberg.
I'm speaking, of course, about Louis Navellier.
I've been on the bleeding edge of this world for more than 40 years. I've had a front row seat to the incredible technological change taking place.
Well over 20, they historically have big surprises, but they'll be hitting the afterburners later in the year when they upgrade the computers.
If you think technology is leaving most Americans behind now, then what's coming next should terrify you. I'm going to level with you. I'd like to think I've got this figured out. I'd like to think I know what's going on and what we should do about it. There are some aspects of this that also scare the hell out of me.
It's the first technology in history that can make decisions by itself and can create new ideas by itself.
Anyone who tells you that artificial intelligence is overhyped or a fad has not studied the history of technological disruptions, is not paying attention to what's going on today, does not understand where we are headed next. We're about to witness a division of wealth unlike anything the world has ever seen before. And it won't just be the middle class that gets left behind. And this is all coming to a head much sooner than most Americans think. A lot of unsuspecting people are about to fall out of the 1%. And I don't plan on being one of them. This is not about predicting the future. It's about what's already unfolding and a huge change that's about to take place in our country. If you don't appreciate this, then you don't appreciate what's barreling towards us. Moore's Law is an observation made in the 1960s by Intel founder Gordon Moore. He said the number of transistors we could fit on a microchip would double every 2 years, which would rapidly boost computing power. Anything that doubles over and over again is exponential growth, which is really important to understanding the changes taking place right now. Imagine you get in your car and begin driving at 5 miles per hour and then double your speed every minute. The incredible thing is not just the speed, but the amount of ground you could cover over time. In the first minute, you would travel 440 feet. In the third minute, 20 miles an hour, you'd travel 1,760 feet. In the fifth minute, going over 80 miles per hour, you'd go well over a mile. To complete the 10th minute, you need a car able to go 2,500 miles per hour and enough room to run 42 miles. Now, think about how fast you'd be traveling and how much ground you'd cover in that final minute if you doubled your speed 32 times. The answer is 10.6 billion miles per hour. 3 minutes that speed could get you to Jupiter. This is where computational power stands today, relative to when the first computer chip came along in the 1950s. This is creating a gigantic shift in the way our economy works, how we build wealth, and most importantly, what we place high values on as a society.
Oncoming, attractive, useful products, well made. More and more products acceptable to the more and more exacting demands of more and more Americans.
We used to place high values on companies that made things like steel, cars, clothes, and chemicals. We still value creating that stuff. It's just not the highest value activity in our world anymore. Our modern world rests on the foundation of computational power. Technology is the American economy. Moore's Law made it all possible. But there's a drawback to Moore's Law. In the classic computing infrastructure, there's a limit to how much growth you can achieve. You can only fit so many transistors on a chip. Even though today's transistors are microscopic, there's a limit to how small you can make anything that occupies physical space. To make the next quantum leap in AI, the digital elite need enormous amounts of computing power, far beyond what today's fastest supercomputers bring to bear, which is why they've been hard at work developing an entirely new technology that's about to eclipse everything. A new kind of computer is about to achieve widespread adoption that is more than 100 trillion times faster than today's most powerful supercomputer. It's going to change our world for better or worse in profound ways. And if you aren't prepared for it, you're going to get crushed. In classical computing, data is encoded in binary bits. Transistors are like tiny switches that can either be in the on or off position, represented by ones and zeros. Every app you use, website you go to, and picture you take is made up of millions of some combination of ones and zeros. But a new kind of computing power surpasses the binary limitations of classical computers. Quantum computers use quantum bits, or qubits, which can represent both 1 and 0 simultaneously due to a concept called superposition. If this all sounds a little confusing, don't worry. Here's the critical thing you need to know. Quantum computers allow for multiple computational pathways to be explored at the same time, opening new avenues and speeds for solving complex problems.
Besides being a potential game changer for solving problems in the natural world, quantum computers may lead to greater optimization in manufacturing, logistics, transportation, and finance.
Imagine you have a large library and you're trying to find a specific book. In classical computing, you would search for the book by examining each bookshelf and book one at a time until you find the right one. This approach can be time-consuming, especially if the book you're looking for is in the back of the library. But imagine a computer so powerful it can explore all the books at once. That's quantum computing. It's been said that differences between quantum computers and classical computers are even more vast than those between classical computers and pen and paper. That may be an understatement. We're talking about machines so advanced that they can instantly execute calculations that would take the world's most advanced supercomputers nearly half a century to process. It's hard to fathom this level of computational power. It's not like the transition from the horse and buggy to the automobile. More like the horse and buggy to the SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest jet ever made. The difference is utterly mind-blowing. Think of quantum computing as a turbocharger for artificial intelligence. It makes AI faster, more efficient, and more precise. Pre-training is the process where AI is first trained on a large general data set before being fine-tuned for a specific task. AI models like ChatGPT can take months to pre-train, even with today's most powerful supercomputers. But merging quantum computing's massive computational power with advanced AI algorithms like ChatGPT means near instant learning, near instant mastery in any domain. Imagine being able to instantly analyze and test all the known molecule combinations in the universe. Microsoft was able to analyze 32 million new material compounds in the search for a more efficient battery material. Google is doing the same to develop new drug compounds. Think about the implications of all of this. We'll be able to find breakthrough drugs, battery chemistries, sources of energy, Quantum computing will give us the ability to solve what's known as intractable problems, problems that take so long to tackle using today's computers that no one even bothers trying. It's going to make it so in 2 or 3 years, we'll look back at ChatGPT like it is a VHS tape. It will look like a clunky prototype. It will be hopelessly obsolete. Wall Street will use quantum AI to obtain financial domination. It will let us attack problems by looking at every possible financial and economic combination at once, and then instantly finding the answer. This will enable financial institutions to process huge amounts of data quickly and accurately, allowing them to optimize investment decisions. Goldman Sachs and Microsoft are developing quantum models to predict option prices with unprecedented accuracy. JP Morgan is building the world's most powerful portfolio optimization tool. Rating agency Moody's is using it to forecast recessions. Imagine a world where market forecasting becomes more precise. Deciphering global economic events becomes crystal clear. Again, this is not a prediction. It's already happening. It will revolutionize robotics. Robots will better sense their surroundings, process visual information, and navigate through spaces safer and more accurately than we ever thought possible. This is the breakthrough driverless cars.
No hands on the wheel, no hands at all.
Delivery drones and air taxis we have all been waiting for.
More than 2,000 self-driving cars are on the road in California.
Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, BMW, and Mercedes are all investing in quantum computing to bring autonomous vehicles mainstream.
Completely autonomous, driving itself through the streets of Phoenix, Arizona with an empty driver's seat.
With quantum AI, you'll have basically unlimited potential, unprecedented power. It's going to rewrite the rules of what is possible in life. We're talking about the ability to create, replicate, and commercialize complex analytical thinking and precise physical movement on a scale never seen before. This is the next huge leap forward for the digital elite, the people who have been getting rich while most Americans have been getting left behind. With quantum computing, the digital elite will have AI that's not constrained by computational speed. They'll have infinitely improved machine learning algorithms and infinitely smarter AI. Business harnessing this power will wield the potential to tackle humanity's most pressing issues and unlock game-changing discoveries. This will allow companies to operate with just a fraction of the number of employees businesses used to require. The richest people in the world are investing everything they can into this new technology because it represents a critical new era in the history of capitalism. Quantum-powered AI will drive efficiencies by getting rid of human workers and driving up corporate profits. No matter the job, robots, software, AI, powered by a new breed of computer, will be able to do it better and cheaper. AI will manufacture themselves, program themselves, repair themselves, and manage themselves. And it's not a slow, gradual disruption we're talking here. That's what most people don't get.
It is the end of an era. Blockbuster today announced it's closing its remaining 300 video stores.
How long did it take Netflix to bankrupt Blockbuster, Uber to destroy the taxi industry, Amazon to bankrupt dozens of retail chains? A decade, if that?
But with the rise of online retailers and the demise of the department store, it is a challenging time to be a mall owner. And according to a 2020 study, 25% of U.S. malls are expected to close permanently within the next 5 years.
And that was computational power built on ones and zeros. Quantum computing is a different animal. It's a paradigm shift in power and speed. If you thought the rate of change we've seen over the past 20 years was crazy, just wait. Quantum advancements are happening twice as fast as before. We're talking about exponential progress on steroids. In the quantum era, we'll see more technological progress in 1 month than we're seeing in 3 years right now. This increasing rate of change should terrify some people. It's literally rewriting the rules of technological growth and even the speed at which wealth is being created.
Quantum computers use the natural world to produce machines with staggeringly powerful processing potential.
This is the societal and economic equivalent of a 10,000-foot mega tsunami. It's about to slam into our world. And it will alter the trajectory of our country forever. We're living through a complete and total transformation of the relationship between workers and machines. In this new era, machines are no longer tools that increase the productivity of workers. Machines are the workers.
The rise of robots has led to some pretty scary warnings about the future of work.
The robots will be able to do everything better than us.
There are few, if any, aspects of human life that will not be impacted when quantum computers become commonplace. It will permanently alter society, the economy, our financial markets. The small group of digital elites are set to steer the ship of America into a hard turn and take our economy in a completely new direction and further widen the distance between themselves and everyone else. What's happening is one of the most important events in human history. It doesn't matter if you're blue collar, white collar, working or retired. It has set the stage for a massive social and economic change, no matter who you are.
Some people say that technology creates more jobs than it destroys. Don't new technologies just lead to more new jobs being created?
This is a widely held belief. It's also categorically wrong. What really happens is technology frees up labor so it can be allocated in a different way. Agriculture was once the driving force of the American economy. 90% of the jobs in America's early days were on farms. Then the Industrial Revolution came along. Tractors, the cotton gin, mechanized farming equipment. Less people were needed on farms. People moved to cities and started working in factories. Today, just 2% of the labor force provides all the food America needs. As technology advanced, machines began to perform more tasks inside factories. People used to weld and bolt cars together on assembly lines. Now robots, powered by advanced software, do the work. We've seen what automation has done to the middle class.
Most at risk are the mechanics who make a living repairing traditional cars and trucks.
Technology is advancing to the point where most jobs, routine and now cognitive, can now be performed by machines. With machines both stronger and smarter than humans, there will be even fewer higher paying jobs left for people to do. Look around you. Here in the 21st century, many of the new jobs being created don't pay much and offer little in the way of personal fulfillment. We live in an economy filled with millions of needless jobs. We've essentially invented a whole universe of pointless occupations that are professionally unrewarding and pay next to nothing. If there's one chart I'd like to point people to help them understand the trajectory we have been on and shows us the path upon which we are headed, it's the relationship between productivity and wages in America over the past 80 years. From World War II to the mid-1970s, wages moved in near perfect lockstep with economic growth. It didn't matter if you were a bricklayer or a Fortune 500 CEO. That doesn't mean everyone made the same amount of money, of course. But when America grew, you took part in that growth, no matter how much you were making. One man could work one job without a college education and provide for his entire family. This is the way economists expect things to work. Economic growth moves upward and is shared by all those who contribute.
The optical character reading machines in use by the Post Office Department are among the more complex electronic devices.
But in the mid-1970s, the symbiotic relationship between productivity and pay begins to break apart. There's a divergence. More and more of the economic gains began accruing almost entirely to business owners and investors rather than to workers. Think about what happened in the 1970s. Robots started becoming widely used in manufacturing. Corporations began using computers to automate routine tasks. Record keeping, database management, accounting, spreadsheet software could do the work of dozens of entry and mid-level workers. This put incredible downward pressure on our value as workers, and of course, our pay. Technology slashes the number of people needed to do a job or complete a task. Technology is a deflationary force on wages. The blame for America's huge and rapidly growing wealth divide is often pinned on politics, race, interest rates, or our money. The truth is, it's a force far larger and more powerful than any of those things, and it's almost never talked about. The root cause of all wealth inequality is technology. The American worker hasn't received a meaningful raise in pay since the 1970s. Americans have no money anymore because they're not being paid. One of the most fundamental ideas of America itself is the belief that anyone who works hard and perseveres can get ahead. This is just no longer true. No matter how hard they work or how well their investments do, people are struggling to get ahead while going deeper and deeper into debt.
The digital revolution creates enormous wealth for those with the skills and preparation to take advantage, but it eliminates what economists call middle skill jobs.
In the modern digital economy, a rising tide no longer lifts all boats, just the mega yachts.
Many Americans are struggling and barely getting by, but not everyone.
In 2021, more than 1 million Americans became millionaires.
This is the biggest problem our country now faces. Being drastically underpaid is something people can only take for so long. America's streets are quickly becoming ground zero for a class war that's been building for years.
On their 100th night of protests, they tossed gasoline bombs.
Oh my God!
As this crisis worsens, everyone who's been left behind will turn to more extreme measures, creating an upheaval like we've never seen before. It will be a war between the haves and the have-nots, the people who understand this technology and everyone else. This will have huge implications for the political landscape in the coming years. The outcry over low pay, joblessness, and wealth inequality will lead to American political power tilting more and more towards big government, towards socialist thinking.
Americans are carrying a lot of debt, adding to the stress of inflation.
Financial advisor Joe Wilson says with inflation firmly planting its flag, you must be smart about what you're spending.
Today, nearly 2/3 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Many can't afford an unexpected $400 expense because their wages are too small. Increasing numbers of wealthy people are falling behind. 1/3 of Americans earning $250,000 a year now depend on the next paycheck just to keep their heads above water.
Most people don't have $1,000 in the bank. Like, most people cannot handle a tire blowout or they're gonna put it on credit.
Even millionaires are beginning to feel the pinch. Being a millionaire used to mean something in America, a sign that you made it. Now, large percentages of wealthy households don't earn enough income to repay their debts. The single-digit millionaire is the new middle class. Politicians will never allow tens of millions of citizens to go bankrupt. The only plausible solution is a nationwide program for which all citizens receive a regular minimum income without a need to work, a universal basic income.
A fixed income for adults. The idea of universal basic income seems to be gaining momentum.
Some might think there's no way this could really happen. Not here.
Some call it free money.
But numerous pilot programs are already underway across the country, many being touted as a huge success, with full support from tech's top business leaders. But why would they?
Well, I've been speaking to Stephanie Hare, a technology ethics researcher, about the current risks posed by AI.
They aren't talking about what they're doing to stop these risks from manifesting. So they are all still building this technology.
Universal basic income is a dream come true for big tech. It's like the subsidy for the digital elite. Why pay the salaries of millions of hardworking Americans when Uncle Sam will do it for you? That's the new era into which we are entering. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but what's coming is a disaster. We'll see calls for bans and boycotts on AI and quantum computing, but none of it will matter. The commercial and economic value is just too high. No nation or economy has excelled by shunning technology. Technology wins wars, it cures disease, provides ample food, better living conditions, convenience in all areas of life. Technology drives humanity forward. There's nothing you or I can do to stop this, even if we wanted to. The wheels have been set in motion. What's done is done. All we can do is make sure we get to the high ground. Early in my career, I hot-rodded an Apple computer. State-of-the-art back then, but miserably slow by today's standards. They didn't come with a hard drive, so I put in one of my own. I like to joke that I'm responsible for Apple's first major upgrade. I didn't need to hire dozens of analysts. With a single computer, I could complete tasks that normally took 10 or 20 analysts. When it came to sifting through large amounts of data and cross-referencing it, a human couldn't compare. I could not only compete with, but I could outperform firms 50 or 100 times the size of mine. One man completing the work of many. That's when I began to truly understand the real-world effects of technology on society, which was the exact opposite of what industry was telling us at the time. No jobs will be lost. Robots are good for you. That sort of thing. But it was clear to me the full story wasn't being told. That led to the publishing of the first issue of my newsletter in June of 1980. The goal of which was to show the everyday person how to leverage the power of technology in their finances and investments. We assigned simple letter grades to our system's highest conviction stocks and then published the results each month. Buy the A's and B's, forget everything else. It's ironic. We found a way to align our readers with technology through the power of the written word. I sent the newsletter free to business libraries. I gave it to anyone who would take a look. It didn't take long for some very important people to begin taking notice of my work. I became known for regularly beating the market averages, finding great businesses in the early stage, building world-class investment portfolios. Our macro calls, we got it so right. The modern economy is nothing but numbers. Stock prices, GDP, unemployment, inflation, interest rates, consumer sentiment. It's all data, it's all math, it's all connected. If you understand the hidden relationships between these things, you can map out how the markets, the economy, really work, instead of just the way we are told it works. Our map has proven deadly accurate. In September 1987, we warned readers that the market was showing signs of severe stress. Watch out for herd mentality of everyone trying to exit the market all at once. The likelihood of a huge one-day sell-off is a very real possibility. All this just weeks before the biggest one-day drop in stocks to that point, Black Monday. In early 2000, we told investors to brace themselves. We said, now is the time to realign your investments in the stock market. We warned people to get out of high-risk stocks with little or no earnings. The results could be catastrophic.
Nothing short of breathtaking, a points drop never before seen on the US markets.
This was 3 months before the tech bubble burst. Our systems were the first I know of to flag Enron, one of the largest corporate scandals in history. Wall Street was driving people into the stock. Our system was screaming otherwise. We told people to get out. The stock went to zero. Lots of people lost everything. Forbes would later call our work an unreported triumph. Of course, we saw the financial crisis in 2008 coming from a mile away too. Shifts in consumer trends, energy prices. Our system connects the dots in a way no human ever could. I'm proud to have created the #1 performing financial newsletter in America, according to one of the nation's leading newsletter rating services. Not too bad for a computer nerd from Berkeley. 1991 was a particularly important year. That's when the World Wide Web debuted, and we got the very first website, the first 2G cell phone call. It was a time of incredible change. The transition from a paper-based analog world to a digital, computer-powered society. PCs and software would go on to explode in popularity. We went from nobody having an internet connection to everybody having an internet connection. Cell phones became economical and exploded in popularity. In 1991, we published this portfolio of stocks in preparation for the tidal wave of change headed our way. In it, you'll find Dell, who went on to become a leading PC maker in the 1990s, when it was trading for less than $1. Microsoft, whose suite of software became ubiquitous on computers all over the world, when it was trading for 65 cents. EMC, a leading digital storage company, also less than $1. A company called Synoptics, one of the early builders of the internet. Ericsson, one of the leading cell phone companies, and numerous other early tech pioneers. This was the portfolio to own during the 1990s. Every dollar invested would go on to be worth more than 20 by the end of the decade. I know of no one else, on or off Wall Street, who produced better returns in the 1990s. Anyone who bought and held on to our portfolio probably never had to worry about money again.
They say buy low, but if you were buying Apple stock in 1998, you were buying really low, under $1 a share in today's terms.
As new opportunities sprung up, we told people to buy the best ones. We said to buy Amazon, Oracle, Google, Navellier. These were the companies that would go on to change the world, lead the new digital economy. The 1990s was a time of great change. I hit the fast forward button on my financial goals in the 1990s. So did many of the people who follow my work. I know plenty of people, smart, educated investors, who still beat themselves up over missing out on it. This isn't about bragging. This isn't about showing off. This is about taking this warning seriously. The 2020s will be very much like the 1990s in terms of change. We will exit this decade a far different society than the one we are today. The combination of artificial intelligence and quantum computing is over 100 trillion times more powerful than it was in the 1990s. The destruction of certain industries, careers, and investments is only going to get worse. The money being made by a select few is only going to be more dramatic. It's not a matter of if these things are happening. It's a process that's already underway.
International Monetary Fund has warned that 40% of all jobs around the world will be impacted by AI.
Few people understand what is happening better than I do. If you ignore the inevitable, the basic laws of technology and capitalism, you're going to get left behind. I think it's a mistake to try to make everyone understand the consequences of technological change. I don't care if all people understand. When you're faced with an overwhelming, life-threatening crisis, like a tsunami, and you're the only one who knows it's coming, and when you want to help as many people as possible in the short amount of time you have, you're likely to come across three kinds of people. First is the deer in headlights. They freeze. I don't know what to do. And they wind up standing there doing nothing. Then there's another group that says, I get what you're saying. I get that my life is in danger. My family's life is in danger. What's happening? Show me what to do. Then there's a third type that says, I've been coming to this beach for 20 years. This has never happened here. Tsunamis don't hit America. I'm ordering another margarita, and all you doomsayers can stick it. If you're the one who knows what's coming and how to quickly and safely get to higher ground, which one of these groups of people are you going to help? Certain things are inevitable right now. Corporate bankruptcies will increase as AI and quantum computing goes mainstream. New technology drives out old. Not everyone will adapt. Not everyone can adapt. Many of the companies that won't make it are sitting in retirement accounts, IRAs, and 401ks as we speak. We saw this with the internet revolution. Amazon killed hundreds of retail chains. Uber destroyed Habs. Netflix killed Blockbuster. The iPhone was the death knell for Kodak. The percentage of stocks that produce good returns is about to go way down. The percentage of stocks that turn out to be losers is about to go way up. It's like a wealth divide in the market. This has already started. Millions of high-paying jobs will be reduced or eliminated as well. I don't care what you do. Sometime in the next 5 years, you or someone you know will be replaced by a robot or an algorithm that does that job better.
And my guess is that we'll have AI that is smarter than any one human, probably around the end of next year.
One that never sleeps, never vacations, never gets sick, doesn't need health care or a 401k. A lot of people over the age of 55 won't have the time to retrain and climb the corporate ladder or start a profitable business. They will be big losers in this new world. We're starting to see the effects of this too. The poverty rate among American seniors is larger than any other group. Nearly a quarter of seniors don't earn enough to pay basic living expenses. As it gets worse, we'll see more and more people falling behind. There will be riots, protests, and violence on a scale we've never seen before. We'll see calls for a national income program. We'll see the government playing a larger role in the economy. Everything I just mentioned will further widen the already strained wealth divide in America. All this has serious implications for our country. The digital elite will gain more wealth, control, and political influence. This is all happening. It's all part of the tsunami. You can't stop a tsunami once it's started. All you can do is get the hell out of the way. People often ask me, what's the best way to survive something like this? Should I move off the grid? Should I buy a bunker?
Like, to me, it's more just a mindset of having the essentials for 5, 6, 7 days.
Buy a bunch of gold and then learn survival skills? The answer is no. Investing will be a huge and necessary, maybe the only way of financial survival.
And then if the grid's really down, well, then maybe only the billionaires survive at that point.
Money is survival. Owning stock in world-class companies has always been and will continue to be an essential stronghold in times of technological change. The stock market is the only place I know of that allows you to align yourself with the technologists, entrepreneurs, and wealthy corporations gaining a critical early foothold in these new technologies. This isn't the time to freeze. This isn't the time to hunker down with gold coins. This is the time to move, to get to higher ground. We know the path. Every new technological paradigm, like the one in front of us now, follows the exact same pattern. There are 3 distinct waves. The first is the companies that make the engines that power the new technological world. The semiconductors, the physical computers. This is the hardware.
We're looking at a race between China, between IBM, Google, Microsoft, Honeywell, because the nation or company that does this will rule the world economy.
Sales of hardware companies can grow more than 10,000% in the early stages and hand investors huge returns. Intel returned more than 3,200% in the 1990s. Dell, 8,600%. Qualcomm, 11,900%. The quantum AI era is set to play out the exact same way. Several companies are working on the hardware everyone will use. Established players like Alphabet and IBM are both scoring high in our systems right now. Alphabet has already built one of the world's most powerful quantum computers. IBM is making huge strides in the processors. It's got a huge and existing customer base of Fortune 500 businesses that could provide a strategic advantage for its business. Other companies are smaller and off the radar. You've got to pay attention to these smaller plays. They will play a huge role.
And they say that more than half of them are building around AI in one form or another, which is...
Innovation is often the only advantage smaller, newly formed companies have. Usually, it's an outsider comes in and disrupts everything, takes down the incumbents. Think Amazon blindsiding retail.
Amazon wants to use those spaces that once housed JCPenney and Sears and turn them into distribution centers for its products.
Netflix blindsiding Blockbuster.
Blockbuster had around 9,000 stores in the United States during its heyday of the 90s, but that number was down to 10 in 2017.
My system was tailor-made to identify these companies early on. There's a company called IonQ, co-founded by two widely esteemed quantum physics professors with something like 50,000 academic citations between them. These guys are revolutionizing a new approach to building quantum processors that many believe is the future, fundamentally superior to anything else out there. It's got major financial backing from Bill Gates and Michael Dell. Jeff Bezos is betting big on a company called D-Wave, who's also making huge strides in the technology. The bottom line is, the quantum chips and computers will be the engine of the new era.
So I think we should be cautious with AI, and I think there should be some government oversight because it affects it's a danger to the public.
They'll be millions of times more powerful than what we have now. There will be so much demand, we could ultimately see trillions of dollars flow in the companies that make them. And this is just the first wave. Development of this technology is moving so fast that the second wave is already creeping up behind it. This will be in the companies that build the software that runs on quantum computers. Software is the most powerful wealth creation force on the planet.
Every business, no matter how large, and no matter how small, will be on the internet in the year 2000.
During the internet boom, the biggest winners didn't actually build the internet. They built useful software that ran on top of it. Bill Gates built software that allowed people to navigate the web, use email, and manage businesses. Jeff Bezos built a hugely successful e-commerce platform. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Netflix, Facebook are all just really valuable software programs. Companies deploying software can reproduce these products and services for the entire world practically at no cost. They can operate with relatively few employees, giving them the ability to scale at incredible rates. These are the companies widening the wealth gap, enriching their owners and shareholders at never-before-seen rates. Quantum computing is going to make computer software 1,000 times faster, more useful, and more highly valued. It's critical that you align your investments with these businesses too. There's a company called Quantum Computing Inc. What Microsoft did for classical computers, this company is doing for quantum computers. Its user-friendly software allows businesses to tap into the power of quantum computing for all kinds of things. Other companies are building software to test new drug compounds, train driverless cars, analyze the stock market, build better robots. This will be one of the most important money-making trends over the next few years, and it's already beginning to take shape. A lot of people ask me if I were going to invest in just one stock, what would it be? Here's the thing about that. I don't want to invest all my money into one single company. To be blunt, it's dumb. In a huge mega trend like this, you want your investment capital focused on a small group of the best companies. Treat those stocks as one holding. With a small group of elite companies, you get a measure of diversification. You don't take the crazy all or nothing risk that comes with buying a single company. You also avoid the pitfalls of owning terrible companies, often included in index funds and ETFs. This is something most people on Wall Street will never tell you. I devoted the past 40 years of my professional life to knowing which stocks will go up, crafting world-class investment portfolios around these huge mega trends. You can do this. I can show you how.
A large earthquake was reported off of Mindanao Island in the Philippines. A tsunami warning has also been issued.
This has been the cornerstone of my career. I've done a tremendous amount of work helping folks prepare for the tidal wave of change headed our way. I've given away more valuable information here than I probably ever have before. This is too important to ignore. I invite anyone who wants to continue following me in my work and learn the specific steps I recommend taking to get your money to higher ground. I've laid everything out in a series of research reports which I'm making available for anyone watching to claim. The first is my High Ground Portfolio Report. This report features my curated list of world-class AI and quantum computing stocks to buy now before they take over the world and become too expensive. I'll walk you through all 9 stock recommendations. You'll get in-depth analysis on each company, including key roles each will play in the coming years. I'll also show you some simple yet powerful techniques we use to craft high caliber portfolios, like capital allocation and position sizing. Whether you're starting with $10,000 or $10 million, you'll have everything you need to get your money to higher ground. Some important investment concepts are complicated. This one isn't. The world is about to totally change. Owning a concentrated portfolio of the very best companies is how you outpace all the bad stuff happening out there. This is how you avoid being on the wrong side of the wealth divide. I've invested a great deal of time and energy into this report. This may be the most important work I'll ever do. I want you to have it. I've also prepared a second and equally important report detailing the investments you should avoid at all costs. There are so many ticking time bombs in people's portfolios because of bad business structures and outdated business models. Many are even involved in AI and being touted as great investments. These are the businesses that are destined to underperform in the next few years, and even worse, could go bankrupt. My Doom Stocks report will show you how to quickly and easily purge your portfolio of the businesses that are being disrupted by technological change and doomed to fail. We'll also need to stay in touch. You'll need to stay up to date on all the new developments taking place and have the chance to be the first to act on them as they happen, and learn about the all-important third wave when the time comes. This is when the new technologies changing our world we can't even conceive of yet unfold, which is why I want you to receive my flagship investment newsletter called Growth Investor. In Growth Investor, I'll show you the new developments and technological breakthroughs taking place. I'll show you how to be prepared, stay ahead, and capitalize on all the tremendous change happening right now. I'll keep you updated on the recommendations in my high ground portfolio. I'll show you some new and incredible ways to potentially make money now and as quantum AI kicks into high gear. As a member, you'll get full access to one of the most important tools I've ever created, my proprietary stock grading tool. This system is the foundation of my 40-plus year career on Wall Street, the one that helped me craft #1 rated portfolios and uncover top-performing stocks before they became household names. I make it available to all my newsletter readers. I cannot stress the importance of staying ahead of the coming changes. If you're in a crummy job that offers little in terms of pay, understanding the concepts in Growth Investor could help set you free. If you want to ensure you have enough money for retirement, these concepts could allow you to do that. If you want to fund your kids' or grandkids' education, yes, these concepts could enable you to do that as well. We don't need universal basic income. We don't need socialism. What we need is a better understanding of how our new economy and new technologies will work. We need a better understanding of exponential progress because we are going to see more change in the next 20 years than we saw in the entire last century. We will see the world change more rapidly over the next few years than any other group of people in history. Our country needs more Americans who are serious about financial self-sufficiency.
While many of you are probably excited about the rise of AI and its world-changing possibilities, some of you may also be more and more worried that your jobs will be replaced by AI.
It's a shame, really. The finances of millions of people are about to get clobbered by a tsunami-like wave of technological change. Yet, because they can't see this wave, and because it's traveling so quickly, people aren't doing anything to prepare. It's like there's a huge wave about to hit the beach, and folks are setting up for a picnic. That's why I'm making it as easy and as inexpensive as possible to get this information out there. I want to show you how to fully tilt the power of exponential progress in your favor and provide you with the information you need to make smart and lower risk investments in our rapidly changing world. One more thing you should know about me. I'm extremely passionate about what I do. I want you to love my work. Otherwise, don't pay. My philosophy in doing business is simple. If you don't agree that this is the best investment research you've ever read anywhere, then you shouldn't have to pay for it. You can ask for and will promptly receive a full refund anytime over the next 3 months. I make such a guarantee on my research because I know it's that good. Also because over 22,000 people have gone on to receive my work for as long as I publish it. But if you don't agree that it's the best, we can simply part as friends. I believe this is the way business should work. I know once you see how powerful my research really is and how I'm able to easily point you in the right direction, I'm certain this will be everything you need to put you on the path to higher ground. Look, I didn't come from money. My father was a bricklayer. My mother was a secretary. They worked their tails off to provide for our family. I come from humble beginnings. I know what it's like to be on both sides of the wealth divide. But my story illustrates the incredible power of understanding this incredible force and the powerful change and wealth it can help you create. It's changed my life and the thousands of folks I've taught it to over the years. That's why I've dedicated my entire career to understanding and capitalizing on it.
Visible as a faint line of foam on the horizon, the man filming from the top of a car park knew immediately what it meant.
What's coming is by far the biggest and most important economic and financial event of our lives. After the tsunami hits, the world will never be the same. Your life will never be the same. The way I see it, you can either let things happen to you, or you can take the few simple steps I've outlined to take charge of your own future. To get started and to receive access to everything I've detailed here in a matter of minutes, simply click on the link at the bottom of the screen. This will take you to a secure order form where you can review everything before submitting your order. Thank you for your time. I hope you take advantage of this opportunity. I truly believe it's going to change the financial lives of millions of forward-thinking Americans over the next few years. I hope you are one of them. Thank you for watching today. In America, we love winners like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. We love to read articles and books about the winners. But what often gets lost in all that attention is that for every big winner like Amazon, there are many, many losers. In some cases, there are thousands of losers. Amazon dominated online retail. It weaponized its technological edge and drove thousands of small retailers out of business. People who worked their whole lives to build small local businesses were wiped out overnight. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos began making more money in a week than most people make in their whole lives. As his victims lined up in bankruptcy court and unemployment offices, he bought a $79 million estate and one of the largest yachts ever created. But do they write books about all the losers? Hell no. They only write books about Bezos. Focusing on the thousands of losers creamed by Amazon instead of the one winner is too depressing. Doing so won't sell one book. Nobody wants to read about thousands of losers, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. They do exist. Their stories are heartbreaking, and there are millions of them. For every huge success like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, there are dozens, hundreds, even thousands of businesses that were crushed by them. They leave huge trails of destruction in their wakes. For every $79 million mansion someone like Bezos buys, there are hundreds of foreclosures brought on by their owners getting crushed in the battle for profits. Don't forget how the law of the jungle rules the world of business. It's kill or be killed. Like it or not, that's how our country works. The brutal law of the jungle is especially powerful and dangerous when it comes to big innovations, such as the internet or quantum computing. However, I believe quantum computing will prove to be 100 times more dangerous than the internet, because the speed of change it will bring will be so much faster. The finances of millions of people are about to get clobbered by a tsunami wave of technological change. Yet because they can't see this wave, and because it's traveling so quickly, people aren't doing anything to prepare. It's like there's a huge wave about to hit the beach, and folks are setting up for a picnic. When the history books are written, we'll point to this moment in time when our journey was thrust into higher gear. This moment was when the accelerator was mashed to the floor and we were slammed back into our seats. This is why you must take action right now and get to the high ground. The speed at which quantum computing will create vast wealth for the few while destroying the wealth of many will be unlike anything we've ever seen before. I'm not exaggerating the slightest when I say a single decision to take action and get to the high ground could mean the difference between you retiring with tens of millions of dollars to your name versus you being 70 years old and broke. Remember, aligning yourself with the winners will be a huge and necessary part of financial survival. This will be the most important financial decision you'll make for the next 20 years. Whether we do it together or you do it on your own, just do it. Align yourself with technological change. I bought my first supercar when I was 27. It was a Lotus Esprit Turbo, the one made famous in the James Bond movies. But that's not why I bought it. In the Lotus, the frame was built around the transmission tunnel, and you sit outside the frame. This allows the car to be lighter and handle better. Beautiful car. The SF90 is the most powerful Ferrari ever made. 1,000 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds, by the way. What's most impressive is how it handles all that power with grace. No matter how fast you go, you always feel in control. Ballistic, yet easy to tame. I'm an engineering nut. Not so much a speed freak, more of a handling and cornering freak. I was once pulled over in my Porsche 928 S4. The officer commented that I was cornering faster in the turns and then slowed down on the straightaways. Cars corner better when under acceleration. The 918 Spyder is an engineering masterpiece. They call it that because Porsche only made 918 of them. Buying one is like finding a golden amulet. Porsche treats you like royalty. They gave me my own personal Porsche concierge. I get dibs on all future special editions. I was one of the first 200 people in the US to own the 911 Carrera 4. Not many people know about my McLaren 675 LT Spyder. They only made 500 of them. It's basically a road legal Formula One car. I have a weakness for craftsmanship. I was never really into private planes, but I would give 3 to 5 talks per day all over the country. So I bought 4 of them. A British Hawker 700, 2 Hawker 800s, and a Challenger 601. The kids love flying on them. We chartered them out when we weren't using them. Jesse Jackson, Al Gore, General Schwarzkopf were some of our top clients. We were big on the Democratic list for some reason. We leased one to a Russian oligarch for $180,000 per month, plus expenses. He later opposed Putin via his meaty empire. I think he's in prison now. There's a huge tax advantage to owning a jet. When Arnold Schwarzenegger did one of his Terminator movies, they paid him via a Gulfstream. I prefer boats to planes. Kids love boats. The Exumas might be the Bahamas' best kept secret. Very remote, quiet, clearest crystal water in the world. It's like glass. About an 8-hour ride from our home on the coast. Our boat had a hydrofoil mounted between its 2 hulls. A hydrofoil is like an underwater wing that provides lift. The less boat in the water, the less wetted the surface there is, the more speed. This allowed us to get to the islands faster than most other yachts. I also installed a big satellite dish on my favorite island in the Exumas so I could have internet. I'm always working. I have a lot of wine. Some of the best is Bryant, Harlan, Cask 23, all Napa. Maybe I'm biased because I grew up in California. Nothing compares to Screaming Eagle. The vineyard sits at a perfect point in the valley where the weather is hot enough during the day to ripen the Cabernet to its optimum, yet the grapes are cooled by the afternoon breezes that blow north from San Pablo Bay. Perfect location, perfect wine. They only make 500 cases a year. I hear there's a 12-year wait list. I've never been on the wait list. I age my wine for 10 plus years in my Reno cellar. We ship it to my home in Palm Beach when we're ready to decant it. Being who I am, of course, has its advantages. I'm always well prepared for what's coming next. I've had the advantage of seeing what's around the corner. It's how I built my fortune. It's given me a great life. But there's a downside to knowing too much. I'm going to level with you. I'm kind of scared. I'd like to think I've got this figured out. I like to think I know what's going on and what we should do about it. Something's happening not even many rich people will be able to avoid. The genie is out of the bottle. Now, there's no putting it back in, no going back. Look, I've made a lot of money, achieved a lot of big things in my career, but for the first time in my life, I'm terrified I could lose everything.
Why should I care if some rich guy is worried about going broke?
This story isn't about me, it's about you. I know many people, even my own friends and family members, who are in denial about this crisis. This is America, they say. This can't happen here. It already has happened here. It is happening here. In the 20th century, we built thousands of manufacturing plants in cities across the United States. Auto manufacturers, textile mills, paper mills, appliance manufacturers. Parkdale Mills in Gaffney, South Carolina is one of them. Largest buyer of cotton in America at one point. Today, the mill produces 2.5 million pounds of yarn a week with about 140 workers. In 1980, the same level of production would require 2,000 workers. That's 93% fewer people. This story is not unique. The American heartland is littered with towns that have been decimated by automation. lost jobs, low pay, economic depression. Only now, it's not just middle-class America at risk. The same phenomena that hollowed out the middle class is growing in power and scope. Technology has been climbing up the ladder of cognitive abilities for decades. I often get smirks when I warn people about the harmful effects it could have on their careers, their businesses, their livelihoods. They just can't fathom the idea that their businesses or their portfolios are in danger. They can't believe how their strong market positions could be undermined in an instant. Mark my words, as this crisis snowballs, these people are going to get wiped out. There's been a lot of talk about anger lately. America has always been an angry nation. Our country was founded on a revolution. Fighting on the battlefield, in the newspapers, at the ballot box, has been with us from the beginning. Thomas Jefferson once said, "A little rebellion now and then is a good thing." What is the American dream if not the fundamental discontent with the hand you've been dealt in life? What we're seeing today is not the constructive, righteous kind of anger that has propelled America in the past. There's no civil discourse anymore, just rage. Anger that used to be periodic is now persistent, a constant drumbeat in our lives. It's everywhere. We've never seen anything like it. Imagine how much worse it will get when this enormous technological divide is finally understood. Imagine when tens of millions of Americans finally realize just how far they've been left behind.